Genius, get onto my show. I want to go back to what we were talking about at lunch, about this project you're working on. Do you think, I mean, I know we can't really talk much about it right now, but do you think that, are you able to compartmentalize? There's something actually, I mean, this sounds kind of really radio-y and interview-y, but there's something really that I don't know about you, about how you compartmentalize because you're busy. You've been really busy since I've known you. And how do you do that? How do you keep all the balls in the air, so to speak? I mean, I know how you do that, but
stand on my head.
Like, how do you do? Like, you're going on these talks, and then you've got this band piece that you're working on. You've got this other project, and they all seem to be due at the same time.
Yeah,
and you've told me that one of your secrets to getting a lot done is just making promises that you may or may not be able to keep, and then trying your best to make those deadlines.
Yeah, that's basically it. So. It's a good question. The best answer I have is not well. I don't do it very well at all. So usually what happens is I've got a bunch. So right now I've probably got 12 plates spinning, right? So projects that could come to fruition a year from now, 2 years from now, or next week, right? But something's spinning. And I think that's just the nature of being a freelance, being a freelance artist.
Okay,
right? Because you're the same way. But we just got to improvise a career. So it's just keep these things going and try to make that happen. And also because I'm just endlessly fascinated by things, and so my curiosity always gets the best of me. So if I have the chance to go to the Space Telescope Institute, I'm going. You got to do that, right?
No matter what's going on.
Yeah, right. So then you add to that, and then there's a medical conference I've been invited to. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'll do that. Oh, and there's one on the health of the oceans. I've been invited to that. And suddenly your calendar's all booked full of a whole bunch of stuff that is that's not myopic.
And then what happens when disaster strikes, like two things collide and one of them just doesn't fucking work?
Yeah, so what happens usually is one of them just falls apart.
And that's it.
Yeah, so since I've been doing this 25 years, I've been able to convince myself that I can be writing several pieces at one time.
You know that about yourself?
Yeah, I know that it's not true at all. I can convince myself over and over and over, but I know that it's not true. I know from experience. So what's happening right now, for instance, is I've got these three pieces that I'm supposed to be writing, and one of them has just taken over. One of them just eats my whole brain and spirit. It's all I can think about. And the other ones just aren't getting done. So right now, my plan is that there's this concert March 22nd. Mm-hmm. So
that's actually happening.
Yes, there will be people buying tickets. Right. And it says on the program, here are these pieces, which I'm working on.
Right.
So those things have to get finished at some point. Mm-hmm. So my plan right now is to finish this thing I'm working on now, hope it is done, work on that, and then somehow throw the rest of that together in a week at the end of February. This is my big plan.
It's unbelievable.
Now, usually what happens is it's going to take more than a week. It'll take me 2 weeks. Everybody on the other end works their asses off. They work around the clock, copying, engraving. I end up paying them twice as much money to make it happen. Every time we say this will never happen again.
Every movie I've ever sung on.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's kind of the nature of the beast. I don't want it to be that way, and I have such admiration for people who don't do it that way, but for some reason that's...
Who doesn't?
Well, in my mind...
I mean, to me, that seems like the way most people do it.
Well, no, actually, Jeff Beal is the perfect example. Another guy you should talk to. So Jeff seems to have it all worked out. He seems to write more music. He writes 12 hours of music a year. How do you do that? 12 hours of music. So he's got...
is it about creating a framework? Like, does he have a stylistic framework that he works within that's just basically variations of the Jeff Beal style,
I don't know. When you listen to the music, it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like he's
something new every time.
Yeah, finding new, interesting things every time. It seems more that he loves to work, and he really works. Now, one thing he's got to his advantage right now is his son is out of the house.
That's right.
So
his work is in his house.
That's right. So he's probably working all day. But to his credit, he works all day. So part of it is the Stephen King
that's right.
maxim, which is just get up and write for 6 hours every day. Just do it. And I remember one time I went out to have a drink. I invited you. You weren't there. I went out with John Powell. I invited Jeff. And I said, Jeff, come on over. It's Friday night.
Man, that would have been great.
Yeah, but Jeff couldn't because Jeff was finishing up House of Cards. He just couldn't. He said, I might be able to finish this by 8:30, but I'll let you know.
And that's where you're different from Jeff.
Well, no, because I can totally relate to that. But by the time I got to this has to be done tonight, the rest of my life would have fallen apart. I probably wouldn't have taken the phone call. Do you know what I mean? If
I see.
It's always an emergency.
Do you envy that, or you just accept that about the way you work now?
No, I wish I mean, I think I wish I could be like that. It seems like a
because
cleaner
we've had
lifestyle.
these conversations a lot about you know me, I've always had these illusions of just being able to change myself overnight, and then I'm going to make this promise and do this thing, and then I'm going to be this thing now because I've always wanted to be that thing, and you're always like, well, no, that's just not who you are. You are this. Then, I mean, maybe that's just the truth, right? Like.
Yeah, it's better to know who you are, I think, and then work within that.
Right. Instead of being sorry for not being something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. What I have discovered about myself is if it's something I love and really want to do, then I will work around the clock. But, still I'm such a perfectionist. It's never going to be finished until it has to be done.
Now, that's the thing that I've seen in the time that I've known you is that you've developed a comfort in turning in something that you're not entirely happy with, because it will never be that.
Thank you for saying that. It doesn't feel, I'm glad it looks like comfort from the outside. I think, unfortunately, what it actually is me knowing that I used to have in my mind, especially with classical composition, that the premiere was the premiere, right? That it's finished and that's the piece forever. Now, to me, the premiere is kind of like a bad dress rehearsal. It's like, yeah, okay, let's put that up and see if it works. Oh, it doesn't work. Then
see, that's what I'm talking about.
I'll take it down. I'll change it.
I think that's really free. I think it frees you, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, starting to get into something like film, there's no dress rehearsal, and they're definitely not like, take your time. Like.
Well, like we said before, I mean, each film is an industry in itself. I mean, you're talking. $250 million.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it.
I mean, that's a big business.
Yeah, it's its own little company.
Absolutely, and it employs thousands of people.
Yeah.
So the stakes, I think the stakes are the same once you become fluent in that vernacular. But until you do, boy, the stakes seem high.